Hey guys, I've been hanging out in Sedona for press camp, and my friend over here, Chappie, Chief Technical Manager at Intense Bikes. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. There have been so many cool rides. I've gone a little bit, and you guys have been, letting people test out your bikes. Totally. Really high performance, lightweight, and we did a race at the golf course the other day.
Yeah, we did.
Which you dominated, right?
Yeah, me and our COO Chad Peterson. We had some fun.
Congrats. I mean, your products, you're a Southern California brand.
Totally.
And now you in Barcelona, Spain as well?
We have, that's our Intense EU headquarters, so that's our Europe headquarters. So we do all our Europe stuff out of there for the entire continent, and we also have, that's home base for Europe for the World Cup program.
Okay, well, so admittedly, I'm like the e-bike guy. I'm looking at electric
yeah.
bikes and stuff, and this event's been a little bit of crossover, and that race was really cool because you raced on like unpowered and then powered.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get your take. We're looking at the Lapierre. This is a limited edition bike over here. It's obviously heavier. It's like 49.8 pounds or something. Do you know how heavy your bikes are here? What are we looking at?
This bike in particular is right at 28 pounds.
28 pounds.
So
okay,
it's a little bit of a weight difference.
It's a weight difference, but I heard you took that jump towards the end. How does that feel, or what's the difference between, the reason I'm asking is because this is meant to be a higher performance bike. It's sort of like, I guess it's branded after their downhill guy in France.
Totally.
And they're trying to keep weight low and back, but still, how did that handle for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty balanced. I mean, with e-bikes evolving so quick, it's crazy to see the evolution of it, that 3 years ago, e-bikes were basically strap-on battery packs in motors,
right, and like a rack on the back or something.
Yeah, it was silly, and it's crazy to see the progression of that and the performance of the bikes. So,
well, given your higher performance brands, you emphasize the details, and I felt like you could scrutinize that a little bit. This one also has the new SRAM e-bike specific drivetrain that's like only 8 speeds. Totally. What did you think of that? Did you shift through?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously designed to be a little bit more robust with the extra amount of power that's getting put through the drivetrain.
Torque.
And it shifts really crisp, and it's going to actually hold up. So I mean, we're hammering through gears during
that's the fun thing about a demo day. Yeah, you get out there and do it. I guess that's it. I just wanted to get your perspective and to say thanks. You guys did great in the race. How can people learn more about Intense? Where do they go? You have a website?
Yeah, you can go on our website, and you can go through all the pages and look at all the cool bikes and videos and all things like that. And then you can also find your local Intense dealer and walk in there and ask them whatever you want, and they got all the answers that you need.
I saw some sweet bikes today, but there's a press embargo, so we can't talk about everything. What's this model that we're looking at here?
This one right here we actually launched yesterday, and this is the DVO Edition Recluse.
Okay.
So it's a collab that we did with DVO with the custom painted fork that they did to match our paint.
I noticed that. Yeah, I love that. Look at that. It's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
And there's going to be a run of 100 of them. That doesn't include the media bikes, of course.
Right.
But so each bike will have a stamp on it that says 1 of 100 through 99 of 100. So
we're looking at 2 special edition bikes here, is what that comes down to. And I noticed it looks like you could add a front derailleur if you wanted to change out.
You could. The main purpose for that was to be able to have a top mount chain guide. So it gives you a little bit of option whether you wanted to actually have a full-on ISE G05 bash ring, or you wanted a simple, clean, neat, and lightweight top guide derailleur.
Okay, so speaking of that, maybe on this side, I'm looking at the e-bike, and because it's Bosch powered, it's got a smaller...
A nice little small gear, yeah.
Yeah, it's really small. I think it's 16 tooth, and I've heard some people... in muddy conditions, there's a little bit of chain suck, and that's why a lot of times the derailleurs have like the Shadow Plus. This one's SRAM, but with a normal bike, you don't have that so much, I guess.
No, there's obviously the chainring's quite a bit bigger, so it can accommodate a little bit more mud taking up some of that clearance.
Yeah.
And you don't have the back plate of the motor as something the mud gets stuck up against. So I mean, that's one of the things with e-bikes is you kind of have to figure out ways to get rid of the mud, basically. So
yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, thank you so much. It's always fun to talk to like an expert and get the opinion. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. We're just out here having fun.
We'll see you next time. Oh, and the website. What's the URL?
IntenseCycles.com.
IntenseCycles.com. Okay, so let's get into some of the details about this bike. It comes in 3 sizes, which is nice, given that it is a limited edition. This is all carbon, but it's not super light, given, I would expect, like, wow, carbon fiber. There's definitely a ride quality improvement there, but you're paying a lot extra. This is $7,500, limited run. And I guess, you know, the name of it's the Lapierre Overvolt AM, which stands for all mountain. So you do have a little bit more travel. We've got 150 millimeters of travel front and rear. Rock shocks, pretty nice up here with the Pike. So we've got speed and charger, that's compression. It's an air fork, of course. Rebound, we are using boost on these, so it's a little bit wider, 110 by 15 millimeter through axle at the front. No quick release on this one. In the rear, also boost, so 148 by 12 millimeters, a little bit stiffer, and it's going to support these wider rims, which are 40 centimeters in width. And then the tires, of course, we got Schwalbe Nobby Nics here. These are the 27.5 by 2.8. And the interesting thing is there are more of these plus size tires that are like 3. I was speaking with a gentleman who's spent more time on this bike, and he was like, yeah, sometimes I get on the plus size tires and it just feels sort of floaty, and he liked that these knobs were a little bit beefier. They can dig in, and you still get that traction and the wider surface area, which is nice on an e-bike. You have a little bit of extra weight, but he felt like the control was still there. So that's really nice. Coming back to this rear shock here, see we've also got a clicker, we've got rebound and compression. Nice to have both of those adjustments. Some extra fender placement here to protect the back side of the motor, and just the way that it's integrated is interesting. I want to come back to that though. So this is the EX1, the e-bike specific drivetrain, 8 sprockets, but it's 11 to 48. A lot of times I'll see 11 to 42 with like 11 sprockets. And so I guess the idea is that with e-bikes, since you have so much support that's up to 75 newton meters of torque, you can switch between these gears. You don't need the finer increments because it's not just your legs, it's your legs plus the motor. Now, I'm always concerned about mashing though, because that's a bigger jump. And the cool thing about the Bosch drive system is that it does have shift detection. So it's listening for variations in pressure, and as you shift those gears, it eases that motor off. And of course, because torque is one of the sensors in there, so how hard you're pushing on those cranks, that's also gonna say like, okay, did they ease off a little bit as they were pedaling? Okay, and now we've got a little bit of a signal that there's a sort of a tension change in the shifter, and then the motor backs off naturally, and you shouldn't get as much damage just to your chain, to your sprockets, to your rear derailleur. I believe this is also narrow wide tooth pattern on that front chain ring, and we've got an alloy chain guide, so that it shouldn't be bouncing off too much. It's actually pretty clean. They don't have a lot of extra shielding around the motor, which a lot of times it just takes up extra space. The CX motor has been tipped, really nicely integrated into that carbon frame. Awesome, really full coverage, rubber slap guard, and I think that's especially important given the carbon frame. Again, the chain comes pretty close. This one doesn't have a chain riser or anything like that. And then just a tighter derailleur. Pretty good setup all around. Take a quick walk around the bike here. Looking at the motor wires. We've got the Purion on the bike, which is not actually what it comes with stock. It would normally come with the Intuvia. It's a bit of a larger display. In my opinion, easier to work with. You can get to more of the menus like quicker with this information button versus having to hold plus to activate lights or hold minus to shift through. So I'm not going to go too much into that right now. I believe it does come with this, I think it's like 165 lumen e-bike specific E3 from Supernova, really sturdy mounting. And if you're out here at night, maybe you're doing like a moonlight ride or something, like it's kind of cool to have a light that's not going to bounce around or get broken quite as easily as a lot of the other ones. And of course it points where you steer, which is kind of nice. Tapered head tube, extra strong, sometimes lighter weight depending on how it's set up. And we've got the Magura MT5 brakes on here right now. That's not actually what comes stock. It's nice that it's quad piston here. Normally this would be the SRAM guide, 200 millimeter front and rear rotor. So lots of stopping power, and that's great, but that's not exactly what it would come with. Back here we also have another Supernova, just really small, few LEDs, but it's enough to get you seen. And I like that it's relatively low in case you're wearing a jacket or a backpack or something that can kind of block that from the rear. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I want to get to that motor, but I don't want to forget the RockShox dropper reverb. Awesome to have that while you're riding the trail. You don't want to, it's just a requirement. Mechanical, there we go, popping it up. So this is the Bosch Performance Line CX motor. That's their high torque trail motor, up to 75 newton meters. It measures 3 signals. The rear wheel speed, so it's got like a little magnet passing the sensor, and actually it's a pretty beefy sensor down there. A lot of times it's a lot smaller, but I guess they covered it. Maybe that has to do with the carbon frame. Anyway, rear wheel speed, pedal cadence and pedal torque, and it measures those signals 1,000 times per second. Very, very fast and just responsive. When we ride in a minute, you'll see that. This motor is also compatible with the new eMTB mode, which is like, it's more torque sensing, and it gives you low power up to high power, so you don't have to click through as much, which is very handy. And then this comes with the Bosch Power Pack 500. That's their larger pack, about 5.7 pounds, not super heavy. Can be charged on or off the frame, which is nice given how tucked in it is there. And there's this little rubber cover thing, so that's actually designed to help you get the battery out. It's like a little handle cover with a lip. So these batteries are easier to find and replace, and you know, if you had to replace this one, you'd lose the limited edition sticker, but it blends in nicely with the frame. Again, they were trying to move the weight as low and back as much as they could, just for handling and performance. I think that's a good overview. I'm just gonna physics saddle. Let's see, maybe power this up and press the power button on top. Again, normally it would be right there on the Intuvia on the left. We've got a battery indicator with 5 dots. We've got our speed. Normally you'd have a power indicator, and then there's 4 levels of assist. So if I press plus, we go to Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo. And Sport is the one with the eMTB mode, where basically it combines Eco, Tour, Sport, and Turbo all into one, and it's mostly based, in my experience, on how hard you're pedaling. So you're on flatter terrain, no worries, you don't have to click down. It's going to sense that you're not having to push as hard. And I feel like they've dialed that in. Sometimes, you know, you get these like do everything modes and they feel either too weak or too peppy, but this one has a good range. It doesn't feel like I'm having to work too much harder to get that to respond. So if I hold minus here, it's going to show me there's my trip meter, my total distance, odometer, range, and range is dynamic on these. So it's calculating based on how full the battery is and what level of assist you're in, and the last couple miles of performance, like me on the bike with these tires, with this terrain, at this elevation. It's pretty dynamic, and I really like that. I think I'm gonna test this in sport though, just to try to show you how dynamic it is. Fan of the eMTB mode because, yeah, you can just pedal softly without it taking over. And I'm going to try to demonstrate that. Then when I want to go harder, it really kicks in. Starts and stops super fast, really smooth, but it does produce a little bit more noise than some of the other bikes. Bosch is just that way. It does rotate at a higher RPM, up to 120 RPM versus 100 on some of the other systems. So I appreciate it. I'm someone who likes to spin. I like to be able to climb, and I just tend to use those lower gears to do so. Well guys, I think that's about it. That was the Lapierre Overvolt AM all-mountain 70th anniversary. A lot of fun. It was cool speaking with Chappie, getting some expert perspective. He rode this thing like a champ. For the full write-up, including standover, reach, the length of the bike, all those other specs I gather, see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, ride safe.